Professor Karim will hopefully help us explore the complex relationship between economic realities, legal structures, and public policy in designing a national budget that is both practical and sustainable for Bangladesh's future. Listeners are hoping that his insights will promise to enrich our understanding of how budgets can shape economic growth, social welfare, and institutional developments.
If you read the Constitution, you read Article 81 to Article 89, you will see that the Constitution has different kind of scheme for acts and for money bills. For normal acts, you do not need President's prior sort of approval, but for money bill, even as a formality, that tag is there. And there is sort of a fundamental rule that no taxation without law, no expenditure without law. Of course, the second assertion is slightly open to interpretation. There may be exceptional circumstances, but that is the core of it. And the Constitution places utmost importance on our budget. And sometimes as law students, we may not appreciate, but budget is, in my view, nothing but annual financial statement of the state.
A budget is not just merely an accounting exercise. It expresses the relationship between the state and its citizens. Fiscal legitimacy depends upon fairness, accountability, efficiency, and trust. You can see that this fiscal legitimacy depends upon whether it's fair and the principles that we enshrine, that our Constitution enshrines: accountability, equity, justice. So Bangladesh requires a smarter but not merely a larger budget. That's one of the first things we like to say. So the law of budgeting starts with the legitimacy, the coercive power, as Dr. Rizwan has already mentioned, that we in the theories of state, we have been taught that of the four theories, the first one, as I still remember as a student of civics, that was in Bengali, Bidhatar Srishti Matobad, that state was a God's creature. And then we have Samajik Chukti Matobad, Shakti Prayog Matobad, এবং the Karl Marx's that peoples. So John, the Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, and Marx, that silsila which I use from Arabic or Urdu, the chronology of theoretical developments about the existence of state, the formation of state, we have more or less now come to an agreement that a state is a social contract. It's a nexus of contracts. There are a lot of contracts, but primarily there's this contract between the people and the government. And based on that contract, people bestow some of their powers, they surrender some of their individual, they accept curtailment of some of the liberties, some of the financial, individual, personal, community, religious, even philosophical liberties, in order for the state rendering them some protection, some services, some common good. So we heard in Kaleski's model that there are certain things that individuals would never do. It's not feasible for an individual to do. আমি প্রপোজ করেছি একটা $100 billion একটা মার্শাল প্ল্যান টাইপ। শুনুন ভালো করে, মার্শাল প্ল্যানের মতো একটা $100 billion গ্র্যান্ড ইকোনমিক এমানসিপেশন প্রোগ্রাম, GEEP, GEEP.
One thing that we need to be aware of, and the Honorable Speaker also made out that the taxation is basically highly exploitative. So it doesn't actually make any sense at some time point, because within tax there are certain aspects that is called the indirect tax like VAT, things like this is indirect tax. That means you are not raising it just directly from the payer. You're just imposing the tax and it is automatically collected. That's indirect tax. And actually, unfortunately, The poor people of the country pays for this in most of the indirect taxes, because the incidence of the tax falls on the people who are being helpless. I mean, if they have to pay it. In any case, they cannot escape, because they have to buy kerosene, they have to buy other food items, and in the process they are paying for it. And nobody sees that they're paying for it. So these are aspects that I think we should talk about it, that the government raises, also the way they, for example, there are other kind of taxes that the government imposes. So these are issues that we should be talking about. But actually, unfortunately, who will talk about this? Because you have to consume it fast, otherwise you're going to survive. You have to do that.
What percent of GDP is invested for education? We talk about education is skill, our country and future. Guess what? It's less than 2% of GDP is invested in education. You're investing money somewhere else, you're thinking of profit in another place. Doesn't work, doesn't match. I think there's some of the things our keynote speaker mentioned about those, you are aware of it. The amount of loan taking, it will be ages to really repay that unless you have good amount of income to return. So in case of Bangladesh, top 10% of the people own half of the wealth of the country. And UNESCO suggests up to 20% investment in education, then you really build, as you always hear, the demographic dividend. Your youth, all the trained person can return whatever you invested.